As a way of centering us for our time, I want to share with you Psalms 81, and I'll be reading verse 1 and then continuing with verse 10 through 16, and I'll be using the Common English Bible translation. Rejoice out loud to God, our strength. Shout for joy to Jacob's God. I am the Lord your God, who brought you up from Egypt's land. Open your mouth wide, and I will fill it up. But my people won't listen to my voice. Israel simply wasn't agreeable toward me. So I sent them off to follow their willful hearts. They followed their own advice. How I wish my people would listen to me. How I wish Israel would walk in my ways. Then I would subdue their enemies in a second. I would turn my hand against their foes. Those who hate the Lord would grovel before me, and their doom would last forever. But I would feed you with the finest wheat. I would satisfy you with honey from the rock. Hi, I want to welcome you to Hobson UMC on YouTube. I am V.H. Sonny Dixon Jr. I am the pastor here at Hobson, and I'm in for my weekly conversation with my son, Trey. It is a time that we have set aside to help me to transition from my time of preparation and study to get ready to try to zero in on what the message might be for this coming Sunday. It's something we started a couple of years ago, and it has become an important part of the week for me. Not only does it help me in my sermon preparation, but it gives me an opportunity to kind of catch up with him, to spend some time, and for him to help me kind of put it into a context that may be relevant for the community. So I look forward to this time, and I also have look forward to hearing from you. It means a great deal when you all say and let me know that you have listened to the recording, and that there was something that was said that was encouraging to you when you felt kind of down, or something that challenged you to look at the scripture in a different way, and most importantly, something that gave you comfort at a time when you were going through something. So we're thankful for this time and for this vehicle. I was in a conversation today with some people, and we were just talking about how things were different than when we started out, different than it was just a few years ago. But COVID brought about some changes in how we gather and how we communicate and how we celebrate with one another, and so I give thanks for this, and give thanks for Trey's willingness to spend some time in helping me to get to where hopefully God is calling me to be on Sunday. It's also an opportunity just for me to thank you for not only listening, but for your support of the ministry here at Hobson. Heard from a very good friend this week who had listened and was aware of some things that were going on, and reached out, and for that I give thanks. So this is an important time, and I hope for you that the mere fact that you tune in and that you spend some time listening means that it's important for you. As I say quite frequently, if you've got some things that you think you want us to talk about, please share them. We're always looking for a conversation for the two of us, where we can kind of bounce things off and use that as a part of helping the message be one that is important for the community. So once again, let me thank you for spending some time with us. Whenever we gather at Hobson, it is important for us, whether it is in worship or small groups or even in just having small meetings with me, that it's important for us to share with one another those things that are upon our hearts, those things that we celebrate together, those things of where we have concerns. This past Sunday, we were a little slow in getting things together. We had people who were out because of death within their family. Some were getting ready for a wedding celebration. So we were just kind of sitting around and really at one point I wondered, if there was going to be enough people there who were going to listen to the message. But we were spending time and sharing with one another those things that we're just kind of going through in the prayer, and we spent more time, and by the time we kept having to add as people came in. So prayer is important to us, and hope that it's important to you, that when we lift up the prayers and that they are a part of your life, and that you're praying for us. And for certainly, we are praying for you. A part of our celebrations and what have many of you listened in for is to see if your name is called during our time of birthday celebrations. And so this week we have a few, and want to lift them up for you. And want to lift up all the way to Chicago, Cynthia Buggs, Sanaya Jameson, Edwina Temple, Carmen April Washington, Seth Norman, Erin Racine, Lori Marbury, Reverend Lawrence Coleman, Marcus Lafayette Hardison Sr., Dave Gatz, Reverend Dr. Over at my home church, Reverend Dr. Paula Smith, Rick Williams, Vernon Ackland, Phyllis Hunter, Denise Carpenter, Theda Murphy, Kathleen Harkey, Coach Jan Pippin out at MBA, one of my former hurdlers, Sherry Bishop, Felicia Reed Kidd, Jack Swift, and Jeff Ellis. And I waited and to add a very special one, a very dear friend has a birthday this week, and Judge Richard Dinkins. And so if you know these people, send them a shout out, offer up a prayer of thanksgiving that they have made it around another 365 days, and just give thanks for life. And I want to ask for prayers for the family of Dr. Ivan Davis Sr., who passed this week, former president of Tennessee State University, and be in prayer for, in particular, for his wife Elizabeth, his daughter Alvinetta, and son Ivan. Also ask for prayers for Joanne Washington and the death of her sister Mamie Lee. And then ask for sending our condolences to George Easer and Ranger Tillman in the death of a close family member for them, and he was an Indian ringneck parakeet. I'm not really for sure. I think it's Vishnu. I think it's the pronunciation of his name, but very close. And we in this community know how we call family members. Some people call them pets. We call them family members because of the love that they have for them. So we extend our condolences to them. We ask for you to continue to be in prayer for Pam Hicks, who is recovering from surgery. It is going well, and but to continue to be in prayer for her, and also ask for prayers for Sheila Jones. It appears that she may have to have some surgery on her hip. And so just ask that you be in prayer. Also, continue to pray for the violence within our communities, within our city. We asked last week and continue to ask for prayers for the Fuller family in the death of a young lady, Maya Fuller, and for information leading to an arrest for whoever was responsible for taking her life. Continue to pray for those who are for COVID, asking that you go and if you haven't gotten your shots, and I'm going to almost be under the assumption that if you're listening to this, that you've already gotten your shots, gotten your boosters, but you may know others who have not. And on this week, I was talking to Carissa Day. I saw her bus was parked and the lights were all on and they were flashing in the middle of the day. And I called her. I said, what's going on? Was that your bus that's out there? And she said yes. And she said she had gotten a call that her daughter, I think it was Trinity, not sure. I need to follow up because I just asked how was she doing, and she just said she's doing well, but I did not check the name. But be in prayer that she's in the midst of her. She tested positive for COVID, and so she's under COVID protocol for a few days. So it's still out there, and we still need to be careful, and I ask that you be in prayer for that. Amen. Our scripture reading for this coming Sunday comes from Luke, the 14th chapter. I'll be reading the first verse, and then I'll continue with verses 7 through 14. One Sabbath, when Jesus went to share a meal in the home of one of the leaders of the Pharisees, they were watching him closely. When Jesus noticed how the guests sought out the best seats at the table, he told them a parable. When someone invites you to a wedding celebration, don't take your seat in the place of honor. Someone more highly regarded than you could have been invited by your host. The host who invited both of you will come and say to you, "Give your seat to the other person." Embarrassed, you will take your seat at the least important place. Instead, when you receive an invitation, go and sit in the least important place. When your host approaches you, he will say, "Friend, move up here to a better seat." Then you will be honored in the presence of all of your fellow guests. All who lift themselves up will be brought low, and those who make themselves low will be lifted up. Then Jesus said to the person who had invited him, "When you host a lunch or a dinner, don't invite your friends, your brothers and sisters, your relatives, or rich neighbors. If you do, they will invite you in return, and that will be your reward. Instead, when you give a banquet, invite the poor, crippled, lame, and blind, and you will be blessed because they can't repay you. Instead, you will be repaid when the just are resurrected." This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Amen. Well, Trey, when you talk of scriptures, how I say, sometimes, the lectionary readings are set many, many years ago, and you don't know the kind of rotation and you're going around. But that every so often there's just a scripture that comes, and it is so relevant to what's going on in my life or what's going on within the community. You say, "What? They must have known in advance that this was going to happen." And so here we have one. I mean, we're talking about part of it, being invited to a wedding. It wasn't necessarily a wedding of where Jesus was at this particular, but he uses that as an illustration. So we've just come out of that. So it's some things, and we may talk about that. We may talk about that a little later. But just in looking at this passage, it is one that I have enjoyed and enjoy reading and enjoy imagining that I was there. Watching all of the stuff that was going on. I like the fact that in this 14th chapter, that when it kind of starts and we skip some verses, and the verses that we skip deal with a healing that takes place, and I'm sure that the lectionary readers, the planners said, well, we dealt with that last week, and so we won't deal with that again, but we will deal with just what was happening and the kind of atmosphere that was existing while Jesus had been invited. I imagine that Jesus is making his final trek to get to Jerusalem, and there are a lot of people who want to see him, want to meet, want to talk to him, want to see, because the word is around that he might be the Messiah. So everybody, he's kind of famous, and I can imagine what it was like, and I do think that this was probably in one of the smaller communities. It wasn't but yet still maybe a suburb of an area, as we would like to think, but yet significant enough in that they've got some important people, in particular when you talk about small communities. This leader, this Pharisee that was there, evidently had some position within the community, probably had some resources to be able to host this visitor in the town, and probably came in as a way of one kind of showing out what he had. Look at what I got. Look at all who I am. And yet, at the same time that he wanted to show out, they were trying to check out Jesus. I mean, it did not have Facebook or all of those things. Didn't have the National Enquirer, which was the paper of my day, going around kind of dealing with what was happening with celebrities and stuff. But it was kind of word of mouth, and they wanted to see and wanted to. Probably some people had seen him and probably had heard him and gone back, but he's coming in. And I just imagine they're looking at him and just trying to see, how is he going to act? How is he going to respond? What is he going to say? What is he? I mean, even to the degree, what does he look like? Does he look like the Messiah type? Is he coming in here looking like Denzel Washington? Is he coming in here looking like Martin Lawrence? I mean, they just wanted to see him and to be seen. And it says that they were watching him, but while they were watching him, he was watching them. Now, I say part of it, the verses that skip over that, he was there, and there was a person that had some swelling in his body. Maybe it was arthritis or something, but he had some swelling that was going on, and probably was having some difficulty in moving around and getting around, and people would kind of ignore him and doing, all kind of stuff. And Jesus at one point, said, what about this man? Look, I mean, he's here, he's suffering. They probably had heard what had, happened in the last chapter, that he had healed on the Sabbath, but now, they kind of thinking to themselves, well, that took place in the synagogue. He was just kind of showing out, but now this is in my home. And certainly he's not going to, disrespect my home by doing something like that. But they didn't say anything to him and didn't respond to him at all. And so Jesus healed a man. And then after he healed a man, then, he said something else, and they still didn't say anything. And probably were more pissed off than anything, probably, upset that he had done that. But at the same time, here's a man who's got this kind of power. Maybe I don't need to say anything to it, and just let's let this meal hurry up and get out. But while he's doing that, he then takes the opportunity to kind of say, because he had been watching the people and how they came in and how they, got seats and stuff. Now, as I say, one of the things that I don't think we probably appreciate as much in our culture and in our times is that, for us, it's going out and we want to go out to the fancy places, and to be seen and to have the positions, where the people have got to walk by and ask the question, who is that? Who is that? All that kind of stuff going on. So we don't have that. And so in that particular time, they didn't have that. But it would have been known throughout the community that this was going on at that place. And I can imagine that there were people who were not invited who at least stood around on the outside to kind of see the guest list and kind of see what was going on. And those people who were fortunate enough to be there were probably, somewhat like the Pharisee, probably were people of some means, or some people who at least consider themselves, not maybe on the level of the Pharisee, but at least, appreciative of the fact that they had been invited to the thing. And so I can see them all trying to position themselves and put, I want to be sitting next to, the guy in the Pharisee. At least got to get close enough to that so that people will know that I'm important to him. And so they were kind of going all that. And then Jesus ultimately, kind of calls them out and says, look at what y'all doing. And I don't know, when he was talking to them, I don't know whether the Pharisee, said anything or intervened. I said, oh well, no, I know him, and that's my brother, that's my business partner, but they were probably all too embarrassed because really and truly, I mean, if I'm the guest of honor, then maybe I should come. And so then Jesus just kind of gives a lesson to them about when you enter into a place. And as I say, the instruction is say going in, I mean, you don't do that, In fact, it is much better for you just to go and kind of put yourself, in a place, because it's embarrassing. You go and sit, and then somebody comes and say, oh, no, you're sitting in the wrong seat, And I've been in situations. I've seen that kind of thing happen. I remember one time we had a banquet that I was involved in, and somebody went in and changed the name tags around and put their name tags because they thought that they ought to be sitting at a certain table and going on. And they went and sat down, but they had already told some other people, no, this is your table and this is where you're going. And it was a big ruckus, and the folk, that had moved the name tag last. And, well, I just came in and, I saw my name tag on this table, and no, I'm not moving. And, it was all a big disturbance, and people remember this disturbance that took place more than they remembered, the other events that happened around the banquet. And it really did kind of overshadow, why we were there and the people we were honoring, because we all got caught up in the drama that surround that. And that's what Jesus is talking about. And so, because this story, and I enjoy this story, I'm kind of one that doesn't get into that. When I like going to functions where there's banquets or even in what are maybe large gatherings in people's homes or whatever, where there are a lot of different people, and you particularly see that around people who are campaigning, and they've invited people in to kind of hear the spiel and to do all that. I just kind of put myself in, not that I'm Jesus, but I like to just go and watch and to see how people interact and how they act. There are two people whom quite frequently run for office, and they keep getting elected, but I don't vote for them because the only time they ever speak to me is when they are running for office and when they are in front of some other folk. In particular, when I am in the presence of some people. In fact, one of the persons I'm thinking about, I had been invited to a function where they had been invited. The person was supporting them, and they said, "Oh, I didn't know that you knew them." And I was like, "You don't know 99% of the folk that I know." But that's not important. And then what really just kind of kind of upset them, and then they wanted to, go and act like, they were my best friends and stuff because we were getting ready to have, some little refreshments and stuff, and the host invited me to offer up a prayer, praying over the food before we started doing that kind of stuff. And so then when the person got up later to make their spiel, they kept talking, they talked about me because they said, "Oh, well, I got to butter him up because he's a good friend of the host of the party." And so it was so ridiculous, and to this day, a lot of times, most of the time they're running unopposed anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I just don't pull that level because I just don't play those kind of games with that. And I think that's what Jesus is saying in that, that the time will come. I mean, if you are to have the place of honor, if you are to be recognized, if the things that you do and the things that are destined to be yours, they will be yours. You don't have to push the issue, and most importantly, don't do it at the expense of what might be for others. And we have so many people in our society today who feel that they are privileged and they're entitled, and that what they, it's all about them and it's not about the other people. And Jesus wants us to be aware of that. And then he goes in the latter part of this is that then he talks to the host, and he kind of says to the host, look, if you are having a wedding banquet, and that was the big event during that time. I mean, that was the big celebration of where people came together, and it was, it was the thing. I mean, it was our swan balls or our freedom fund banquet, whatever it is that we put, as being our social event. Weddings were the social event then. And he tells the guy, he says, you keep inviting these people because you invite them hoping they will invite you, and y'all will try to outdo one another on this, and you got to check off the list, and you got to find, and in many cases when you're doing that, you're going to be inviting folk that you don't even necessarily like, but because you're doing it out of the privilege and all of that, that if you really want to make a difference, then you need to invite some people of whom cannot invite you back, that they will truly appreciate and truly honor the invitation that comes. There's some other stories around, illustrations that Jesus has around that one, but in this particular one, he causes him to say, did you? And in fact, I think for this particular occasion, I mean, you invited me here, talking, Jesus. You invited me here, and you wanted people to hear, I believe, the message that I have, and the message of how it will be impact the lives of people of whom my message is for. In that particular case, these folk you have, those are not the folk that I came to talk to. Those are not the folk that, in fact, those are not even the folk who care about the message that I am delivering, but the people of whom are hurting, the people who need healing in their life, the people who need hope. Those are the people that you should have invited to this gathering. And not only would they have been blessed, but you would have been blessed, because ultimately, when you get your reward, you will be rewarded for having seen those people of whom needed to be invited. So I think we'll talk about it on Sunday, and I will. I'll share how I think we get to that point, both as visitors when we're invited someplace, or those who are planning. That the ultimate, we have to have involved is the Holy Spirit. That I think the Holy Spirit helps us to make the decisions when we're invited to places, and who it is that we ought to be invited when we are indeed the host. So I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit of that, in particular after I have this past week got to experience a great celebration and a great party myself. Amen. Well, Trey, how things going with you?
Things are going pretty good with me. I'm in a good place. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I too am in a good place. Had a couple of unexpected days off, and so I got
days off. Huh?
Yeah, I got to sleep a little late. Got to.
That's always good.
Yeah, I got an extra day of hanging out with Herb, and in fact. On Monday, but it wasn't our scheduled Monday, and so I said, look, I've got some old cards, gift cards from Chili's from way back, and so I said, let's go to Chili's. And at first he said, man, you don't want to go to Chili's. I said, well, he said, man. It's just not the same Chili's anymore. He says, let me just pick up some stuff. And then he called me back and said, well, the place he was going to was closed. And so, let's go on over to Chili's. And sure enough, the one good thing was the waitress that used to wait on us when we were there was still there. And so it was great to... It was great to see her. I think Herb has gone in a few times, and Herb didn't tell her, that I was coming, so she was really surprised when I got there.
Yeah.
But it is clearly not the same. In fact, shortly after we came in, they were putting a sign up on the door. We are closing early because there was only 3 people, working that day, and wasn't many people in the restaurant. So it was kind of sad to see that, and I just know the only reason they're holding on to it, they're waiting for Vanderbilt to come across the street and buy up all of that property over there. But it was nice. It was nice to be able to go and hang out in an old familiar place. So, yeah,
man. So on Monday, Brittany and I said we were gonna go get some brunch, and I usually don't go out like that anymore. And we went to this place. I can't even think of the name of it, but it was across the street from the Pancake Pantry.
Oh, okay.
On 21st, it was some new trendy little spot, and when we walked in, the guy was like, you can sit at the bar. And we was like, okay. There wasn't nobody at the bar.
Yeah.
And, well, there was a couple that was at the bar, and they were sitting, so we sat on the opposite side towards the end of the bar, like towards the wall. And there was a bartender lady, And so she brought us menus, and I talked to her. I said, "Hey, how you doing? Everything's good, blah, blah, blah." And then some more people came, and they sit across from us on the other side. And then some more people came, and they sit on our side a few seats down. So right when, we were looking at the menu, kind of talking, she gave the water to the people that were seated there first, which was cool. I'm not tripping. And then the last people that sat down, it was like she was bringing us water. She was in front of us, and she was like, "I'll be right with you," and gave them the water.
Oh, wow.
I was like, you know what? You know what? Maybe she was mistaken. And then she said, "I'll be right with you."
Yeah.
And then she took their order, right? And then she poured some more waters and gave it to the last couple to sit down. I'm one that, typically will make a scene and will, speak my mind. But, I was in such a good mood that I decided, you know what? I just don't want to eat here anymore.
Right.
Because, that even if I had made a scene and, would have corrected her behavior with my display, that I still would have been on edge and animated because of what had happened, that I wouldn't have enjoyed whatever she brought out there. I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as if she had given me Brittany and I good customer service.
Right.
So we left, and I don't.
When that happens, I don't eat. It's not about correcting it because, she got to go back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And she got to bring it out. He has to bring it out. And I don't know what they're going to do to my food and bring it out. And particularly in this time with so much COVID and all the other kind of stuff going on, I'm like, no. So, I would have been like you. I would have just said, look, I would have acknowledged, that I'm leaving because of the treatment that I would have had, and I would have made it known to, to somebody else. But unfortunately, a lot of that is going on, and I've made a couple of comments when it's kind of happened to me, and some people have made comments on Facebook. That's just they can't get workers and they can't get that. And I don't put that to being workers. I put that to some of the stuff that it actually is. It's some racial bigotry.
Right. That's exactly what it was. That's how I felt.
Right. And when you just and at times you just have to you have to call it out and because there are places of where some places just don't want you coming to their establishment because they figure, well, if we let 2 or 3 come, then next thing you know we have 7 or 8, and then we won't have some other people coming. So it's just I remember years ago they would try to do with dress codes, and say, well, we don't allow people in that don't have a coat. We don't allow people that don't have this and don't have that. It was a place that we went in one time, and they said, well, no, we don't allow those loud colors that you all wear, and I was like, even if. Right? Yeah. Even if that sentiment right there. Right. I don't care how good the food is. It wouldn't make me any difference. And I didn't want to, because Brittany knows how I am, and she felt my frustration. She was frustrated as well. Yeah. But I decided to take a different route, and I was just like, man, I'm not eating here. We had waited for. It was probably like 20 minutes that we were sitting there, and then she gave us the menus, but then when the other people started coming, she started serving them, and that just blew my mind. And hey man,
it could go all the way wrong. You right that she had to bring the food out there. She had to put the food in, and no telling what she could have done or made. Kind of adjustment to our bill in terms of me acting out because of her behavior.
Right.
And I'm trying to really, keep my sanity and not let people provoke me into being angry.
Right.
And the only thing that was good for me in that moment was not to be in that environment.
Right.
Brittany had wanted to go there a couple weekends ago. And I was like, I don't have that type of money. I got Cracker Barrel money.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know Cracker Barrel, what it's going to cost, and I got that money in cash. But because of, the weekend, I was like, yeah, we'll go wherever you want to go. And so she picked a place, and I was like, nah. And so we ended up trying to go somewhere else, and it was during lunchtime, and the parking was just like, man, you know what? I'm finna go to the grocery store, get all the food that I want, and then cooking myself like I normally do instead of trying to do something outside of the box. But yeah, man, that's a bad feeling too when you just feel like you're overlooked on purpose. Now I can understand if it was a lot of people in there and she was the only one trying to maintain the flow and she just didn't figure out. But we were the second couple there. It was only two people there, two couples there, and she.
Or even if the other people came in and were familiar and they kind of do that, because I've got a lot of people say, well, have you gone to this place? Have you gone to that place? I said, no. I tell you what, because I found a place that I like. I found a place that treats me right. I'm going to keep going back. I'm
going to keep going back.
I don't want to go and experience something in particular so that I can go and tell somebody, I paid X amount of dollars for a meal that I did not enjoy, for treatment, that I did not, really like, just so that I could say that I went to that place, because I want to go and I want to I want to be comfortable. I want to feel like that nobody, because I've had in particular. In the early days of ministry, when I was dealing with a lot of people who were, struggling with addiction and were in the midst of active addiction and who were working in restaurants, and they would tell me some of the stuff they be doing, the food and stuff, and I was like, man, I'm gonna come and see you, and they were like, you come, Red. You come see. You make sure they tell them to tell me, because I'll make sure I take care of you. And I said, well, no, I don't mind paying for my food. He said, no, I'm gonna tell them don't spit in yours. I was like, wait a minute, y'all. He said, man, they be coming back here, and they were, and particularly when you send something back, because man, they send it back, and then the flow manager, he come in there and he be cussing me out, saying I didn't do this and I didn't do that, and and shoot, I dropped the steak on the floor, Okay, they want some more seasoning on it, I was like, oh man, y'all gonna make me stop, And for for a long time, seemed like the only place I go would be Waffle House.
Well, you can look.
Well, I can look, And
it might be dirty everywhere else, but I know exactly what my food looking like.
Right, And I even remember one time in Waffle House, I went to a Waffle House, and guy was rubbing his nose and stuff, and then taking my back. I said, no, I tell you what, just let me have my coffee. I don't go. So I'm with you. I'm with you on that. And there are. There are so many places, and there are still places of where they don't want certain clientele, and they prejudge whatever, that clientele is, I went to a place, I guess about 3 or 4 months ago, and I saw a lot of tables and stuff and going in, and said, well, can we get a table, and they look now, well, we have this reservation and we have this and we have that, and so I was like, well,
Nah, I'm good. But you know what? Yeah. Speaking of eating at places, I've been to Maggiano's probably 150 times.
Right.
Since Maggiano's became a place.
Right.
I've been to Maggiano's in different cities. But over the past weekend, this was on, I guess, Saturday.
Right.
I ate some things at Maggiano's I've never had before.
Oh, okay.
And I was pleased by some of the items that were on the menu for our, it wasn't a rehearsal dinner, but I guess you financed a dinner for the families of Brittany and myself.
Right.
To kind of fellowship together during our wedding weekend.
Right.
Man, that shrimp was so good. that butter cake was so good. I never had had the opportunity to have that, and it was just like you go to a place and like you said, you get what is good,
right.
And so you kind of get in the whole pattern of, I know this is good, this is what I'm gonna get, I enjoy it. And when you're exposed to different things that you could enjoy, it's like those are things that I'm definitely gonna add to my Maggiano's list to say, let's try this instead of having the same baked ziti and fettuccine Alfredo, because what those things are going to bring to you, because that's kind of why I drink beer. Right. It's like I know exactly what beer is going to do to me and what it's going to taste like. So yeah, man, I was pleased by that, and
I told Brandy's little boy, because they came and brought it on the table, kind of table, and they kind of had a couple of cakes and a couple of whatever, the peach or whatever going, that kind of stuff, and so he kind of got a bite, and then he kept eating. I said, wait a minute now, look, don't you get accustomed to you eating that cake like it's a Twinkie, but it was good,
Yeah.
And so I can see going back in. I won't. Bring me 2 of them, and so it's kind of like. I was kind of like that about the cigar you gave me. I'm thankful for that cigar, but I'm going.
Oh yeah, that Davidoff.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm going. I want to be in a place where. I won't embarrass myself, where I smoke it to the where it's burning my fingers,
Oh yeah, you gotta get it till it's no more.
Right, it's a Davidoff. Take it about 2 or 3 bottles.
And put it out.
Yeah, bring it. No. I want to savor it.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I went into Bill Mead, and I was getting some, one for you and one for me for the weekend. And I talked to Jeff. And of course, I knew what I wanted.
Right.
I knew I wanted something top of the line, but I didn't know which one, because there's so many to choose from.
Right, yeah.
And so I said, hey, man, I'm getting married this weekend, and I want to get me and my dad a Davidoff. And he said, oh, okay. So he walked over there to the little counter. Not in the humidor, but on the side. He was like, so what do you like? Well, what my dad likes. Let's try to work with that. And so he got those two, and he was like, you're going to enjoy this, you know? Yeah, so I hope that you get an opportunity to relax and enjoy that. The magazine that I looked at, the review, it said it's a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to smoke a 10 out of 10 one day, but that might be a little bit too rich for my blood.
One time I went to Jeff had it, because he's one of the top Davidoff distributors coming through, and I really yeah, I kind of like you. I'd seen it in the book and really hadn't, the kind of thing. And so, they kind of, gave a, little thing and said, well, here's one, and tell me what you like. And again, and I'm, smoking, and it really was, it was nice, and so he says, can I get you a box? He says, because we don't sell these individually. Mm-hmm. We sell these by box, and I said, okay. And so then, and I had bought some boxes before.
Right, so some different things.
Things that I enjoy, at that point, I was kind of, okay, make a deal, do something, get a box,
Get the Jeff discount.
And so he says, can I get you a box? And I said, okay. How much is a box? And I'm like, he says, the box is $3.90. And I'm trying to think, this is a fine cigar.
Right, yeah.
And right around the time I think I went in there, I was thinking of something, and I said, you know what, I'm going to get this box, I'm going to put this box over, and I'm going to have a great party, I'm going to sit around and go through. And so I said, you know what, I might get, he said, well, let me get it out. And so he got it out, and it wasn't but 10 cigars. I'm thinking it's about 25 or, it's 25. It's like 10. I'm like,
hey, $39 a piece. Oh, Lord.
I said, you know what? I said, let me think about. Let me just kind of think about that, because I gotta go to the bathroom, And when I came out of the bathroom, I hit the door. It was like, no, that's because as I told Jeff later, Jeff said, why, you should have gotten them, because that was a pretty good deal. Because, if you got them from me, it'd have been $450, And I was like, I said, well, Jeff, here's the thing about it. Ain't no use in me enjoying something I can't afford.
Yeah.
It's just like you telling me, Jeff, oh man, why don't you go test drive a Porsche? Why don't you go test drive? I said, ain't no use in me test driving if I can't buy it, ain't no use in me enjoying. I enjoyed this because you invited me to the party. I'm glad that I had that experience, and it is maybe something I can have, every 20 years or so. But,
yeah. But no, I mean, I kind of equate that to, drinking bottom shelf liquor or just some regular old Jack Daniels.
Right.
And then you have the top shelf Gaddens or Uncle Nears. It just depends on what you want to spend your money on and how you're going to spend your money. Because, like I said, I'm at the point now where I've smoked a lot of different cigars messing with you.
Right.
That one right there is by far the best one that I can remember. Right. And I attribute that to when you spend your money on it, it's like you spend close to $25 on a cigar, it's like, it better be good. You wanna take it in and taste it and do all those things.
But also to appreciate, it's kind of the special occasion and that kind of stuff, we used to, when your mother and I would go out and we have, celebration, we might drink some Dom Perignon, and we had a maitre d' that was just a place we used to go call Hugo's, and he recognized it. He said, look, we're selling it for this. If you want to bring a bottle in, I'll accommodate, because, our markup is, is 100% on it, And so, it was worth it for a thing, but it wasn't like, I'm going to go home and, keep, 5 or 6 bottles, in the refrigerator, for that. And the other thing, though, along that same line, though, and, there are some things you just enjoy.
Sure.
Yeah, it may not, and I don't enjoy stuff just because other people tell me I should enjoy it. I'm not going to eat no caviar simply because you tell me I need to be refined and I need to have
some fish eggs.
Right.
I'm straight.
Because, because for me, a great snoot.
It's just as delicate.
It's just as delicate, and man, that's throwaway food, But if you enjoy it, you enjoy it.
Yeah, sure.
And so a lot of times, and it is particular, a guy on the wine, and we'll close up out of there, I went to this wine tasting party one time, and I was sitting, at a bar with a guy who happened to be African American, and so he put some ice in his wine, and so it was a lady there, and she kind of like, oh, I can't believe you put any ice in that. That's just, you just don't do that. And he said, well, first of all, let me introduce myself to you. And he was, in fact, the person who owned the vineyard and had the wine. And he says, this bottle of wine runs $69. And if you pay $69 for it, and you can afford it, and you want to put ice in it, you put ice in it. If that's what floats your boat. You don't do stuff because it becomes, he said, because most of the people who are saying that they are doing certain things because that's how it is supposed to be done don't know what they're looking for in the first place. Right. So he said, no, I'm not watering down. I'm going to drink enough of it to get kind of, where I want it to be, but it's my wine. I paid for it. I can, put ice in it if I want to put ice in it.
For sure.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for spending some time with us and listening to us tonight talk about just this past weekend and some reflection over that and just some things that were going on. Hope that it wasn't too heavy for the person who came in, looking for something deep and heavy today. This just wasn't it. But I do think it kind of reflects, when we look at the story and when we look at the life of Jesus. And there were times that I think Jesus just enjoyed himself and enjoyed the conversation and the interaction and to be able to share with people. And so hopefully we reflected that in our sharing tonight. Encourage you to remember those things that we ask for you to be in prayer for and to lift up, continue just to lift up our communities for there is a lot of pain and there is a lot of hurt that is taking place, and we're not trying to make light of that. But we do also want to, in this time, just to remind us and for us to look around, for God is still blessing us, and there are signs of new beginnings and signs of people of whom are experiencing joy in their lives, and we just wanted to share a little bit of that with you today.